Hey there, what's going on? It's Jason Lucchese with the No Flipping Excuses show. I'm alongside Mr. Jason Palliser. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We have a special guest on today's show. She has gone through the tax delinquent blueprint training. She is in a different part of the country and she's doing deals in a different part of the country. And she closed a deal while being on a completely opposite side of the world. So we're going to be hopping in and talking with Miss Julie DeParis. How you doing, Julie?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show, on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be going out all over the place on our iTunes, YouTube, all that good stuff. So hopefully people will get inspired and they will feel really good about after hearing your story about how you found your area and then how we started talking to the gentleman that we did. So for folks that don't know you, why don't you kind of tell them a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, I'm obviously not American. I'm Australian, and I've been living in Los Angeles for a couple of years now. And I just kind of, I'm a banker by career, banking and finance for 25 years, and now I'm doing loans and things in the States, and jumped into a couple of investment Facebook groups and things like that. And of course, one thing leads to another, and I stumbled on your course, and I thought, oh, this is really interesting, because we don't have the opportunity to do wholesaling in Australia, so it was completely new to me. And went through the course and thought, okay, let's jump in and give this a try. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Awesome. So why don't we kind of hop in then and discuss, because you live in California, but you chose Idaho for your market. Why don't you kind of talk us through like what made you decide to not do an area in California and focus on an area in Idaho?
Yeah, I was talking to Jason. I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
I don't like to do things straightforward and easy. That's just who I am. If I'm going to do something, I choose the most complex way of doing it. That's just in my DNA, I think. But I kind of just started researching. Well, for starters, LA is quite expensive. And I was thinking more of, investors at entry level or intermediate level that don't have a lot of cash to kind of jump in and do this, so that I wouldn't be stuck with a property for quite some time. That was my initial thought process, and LA can be quite expensive. So I just jumped on, did a bit of research on, places that were still affordable, but kind of climbing in price. People were moving there a lot, high rental, that type of thing. And this area, Boise, came up quite high. Yeah. So
Boise's not that bad of a market anyways. Like that's a really stable market. They back in the 2008 crash, we didn't see like drastic slashes in value. They were very consistent over the years. So when you told me that market, I kind of figured it was for the affordability standpoint. And with the deal that we're going to talk about today that you closed, it's kind of similar to our Indianapolis market.
right.
So yeah, it's a very nice market. I know you might be going to some other markets down the road, but why don't we kind of talk about?
Well, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So Julie, how far, just so that everybody that hears this, they understand the possibilities that are at their fingertips here. Like, how far is it to drive from Los Angeles to Boise?
That's a really good question to ask a foreigner that has never looked that up. Awesome. It's like 2 or 3 states away, so it would be a good day's drive, like a whole day, I would imagine.
Correct. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was kind of alluding to, is that
Mm.
you don't jump in the car, go 4 stoplights and you're there. We're talking plan a full day, plan breakfast, lunch and dinner, snacks. So you're not even,
Gotta have those snacks.
yeah, I love snacks. But you're not close to that market yet. You chose it virtually just because you looked at the numbers and
Yeah.
you knew that you could, based upon
Mhm.
everything that we put in place for you. So go ahead, Jay.
Mhm.
Sorry.
No, that's great. And I know you may not know this, but what was Boise from like a population count? Because this video is definitely going to be watched by the rest of the tax delinquent blueprint community. They love hearing success stories, especially for folks that are brand new. They're just getting involved with the training and
Mhm.
hearing this from you. You know, some of the things that we recommend is staying with certain population counts. Do you remember offhand like where Boise was at?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
I think Boise is actually a pretty decent, you know, with us, 75 to 100,000 is where we recommend. But
Yeah.
I believe Boise is at least 3 or 4 times that. Maybe our producer over there, Mr. Michael Bretthauer, I think he might
I hear
be
his
looking it up.
fingers. I hear
Yeah.
his fingers working
His
over
little
there.
fingertips are moving
What's it
really
talking?
fast. 470,000. So it's
470,000.
really solid market for you to choose. So why don't you talk us through like how difficult was it being able to get a list through the county that you could mail off to?
I guess I took a few shortcuts, so I didn't do that myself. I used somebody that you recommended to pull the list out, and so that from that perspective, it was painless.
Okay.
And I was absolutely shocked at how many people were on that list. Yeah, and then I used the REI guys to
REI
kind of
Pre-mail?
mhm,
Yep.
for that next step. I guess where I made my mistake was because this was my first time going through it, and you know I've made notes for the next time. I didn't refine my list very well, you know, like as well as I should have. So when we did send out those letters, oh my God, my phone literally blew up. Like I felt completely overwhelmed with how many calls were coming in. And
So Julie, let me interject. I just want to
Mhm.
frame it for everybody that hears this. So you picked a different market.
Yep.
We're just stepping up to where we're at now. You picked a different
Sure.
market. You're not there. And you said you took some shortcuts. You used the resources that we made available to you, because you went through the training and you're like, you know what? Why am I going to hunt around and do this and that when you can just use the resources that we put in front of you that can grab the list for you? And then now you're talking about the learning curve part, which is, hey, maybe I should have refined the list, which we just finished shooting a video on that,
Right.
talking about refining the list.
It's a
I
little bit
said,
late, guys.
yeah, and I said,
Well,
here,
we do have it in the training. Come on.
I know,
Yeah, come
yeah,
on.
you do. It
Come
was
on
just,
now.
it's a lot to take in, you
I
know,
know.
there's
Yeah,
a lot of
correct.
information. Yeah.
Correct. And so I liked what you said. You press go, and it was a tidal wave, wasn't it? When you press
It
go, the
was,
phone calls coming in.
it was crazy because I had dabbled in, you know, some training prior to jumping on with yours, and my housemate had also dabbled in wholesaling years ago. So we kind of attempted, we, you know, threw together some letters and sent them out and got zero.
Yeah.
It was crickets. And then I'm like, oh, this is just going to be like a lot of hard work. And then obviously did yours, and it was a tidal wave. It was literally every couple of minutes my phone was pinging with texts or phone calls, or I was getting emails through because we set up the website. That is really good to have the website there. And
Can I
yeah.
interject based upon what you
Yes.
just said?
Mhm.
For everybody that watches this, she just said it was good to have her website set up ahead of time before she pressed go, because there would have been missed opportunities. Again, we just got finished also teaching that in the lesson, which is a lot of people will get your information as a tax care advocate and want to look you up online before they decide to call you. But a lot of them, since you have an online presence that we help you build out, filled out the form, and you also got leads coming in that way, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So it was good. It gave me, I guess, more confidence, that's for sure. And it gave them more confidence that they were dealing with somebody genuine. And yeah, so it was really a matter of, at that point, because I had so many people like messaging and calling and everything, I had to somehow filter which ones were just, let's keep in communication, as opposed to which ones were, people that I could help now.
Yeah, because their situation was a lot more urgent, right?
Correct. Yeah. So then I just did a little bit of research on the county itself. I found a page that, like if there were people in distress, they could contact them about their, property taxes and things like that. So I kept that in my resources. And then I just started, calling people, emailing people.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because you've been through the training, so you're learned already, right? So you've learned some things that other people could benefit from. So I don't want you to brush over that. You heard what she said. She actually took the time to look up on her county website because she had a tidal wave of people saying, I need help, I need help, I need help. And lo and behold, because she took 2 minutes to look some things up and read, hey, if you are behind, if our tax advocacy company can't help you, here are some other resources that may be able to help you, which obviously just shows the homeowner your willingness to help because you actually did 2 minutes of research on your own to see if there were any other options on top of what you could offer them, correct?
Yeah, because I guess, like we're all in this to make money, but
Correct.
I didn't want to just make money by pushing somebody out of their house. That wasn't the goal. My career in banking and finance has been the same, like people walk through the door because they know what they want to achieve, but they just don't know how to get there. And it's my job to help them, even if I'm not the person that can help them. So
absolutely. The absolute takeaway, if you're listening to this right now, is you're, as a tax care advocacy company and client that we set up or a future client, we are here to help people. You can't help everyone, but you can also give them other resources to help point them in the right direction if what you offer can't help them, correct? How was that received, by the way?
Yeah.
Really well. There were, a good handful of people that reached back and said, thank you so much. And obviously got themselves sorted. So that was good. And there were a couple of people that, went to that site and they couldn't help them because they were too far gone. So then they'd come back to me, so it was a bit of a mixed bag, but again, like I was surprised with how many people were on the list. I was surprised that absolutely 0 people knew that they could reach out to their county and that they had a particular department that could potentially help them out with their late taxes. Yeah. So I was just mind blown.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And let's talk about that for a second, so anybody that hears this can understand a little better. When we teach people, like you went through the training, and we try and impress upon you so that you can do this in multiple markets and do it well as a full-blown tax advocate for people. Until you have the training and you've dove into it like you have, people don't understand. They're like, how do they not know? How do they not know those resources? Yeah. How do they not know that after 3 years behind, they're slated for tax sale in August, and the list of all the tax sale properties is released in July because they ignored the first letter when they were delinquent and they couldn't pay it because of personal stuff. Well, year 2, when they get another letter, hey, you're getting closer to tax sale, they don't read that stuff because they know they can't fix it. And that's where you actually took the time to say, hey, you do have some options here. And it was well received. What I liked about what you said earlier, hey, we tried it and we did other trainings and we pressed go on some stuff and we didn't get any responses.
Yeah.
But now you did it the right way. We helped you set it up the right way and set up your online presence as well to marry that with your effort you put out into the marketplace. And now you have a tidal wave of opportunities to help people. That's fun to us. That's the whole reason we put it together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And Julie, with some of the calls that maybe you've taken over the years by maybe sending off other mailers to people, was there a difference in between the calls that you received with people searching for you to help them as an advocate with tax delinquent blueprint marketing compared to other training? Like, was anybody like real mean to you, like right out of the gate?
Well, I didn't get any responses to previous
Okay.
trainings. Yeah, so I don't have anything to compare it to.
Okay.
I did
Which is
have
embarrassing within itself, but
yeah, for them. With I would say that like 95% of the people that called through were eager to speak to me and happy to hear what I had to offer and what I had to say. There were the odd couple that were like, who are you and what are you going to get out of this?
Yeah.
What are you doing this for? There was no one that was actually, angry or rude. Yeah.
That's
it's
good.
because of the approach. It's because as we taught you, here's 3 separate ways we could help you. I don't know if any of these will work for you. You got this, you got this, you got this. And then you also gave them resources. Hey, didn't know if you know that, like you said, most of them didn't even know that that there was a department in the county that could help them on some level. So literally they left the conversation with you as a tax advocate with options and much better information than they had on their own before they made the call to you.
Yep, absolutely.
That's right. And there were a couple of people that were, really close to losing their houses, didn't even acknowledge that their house was going to be taken. They were still in denial that, but my house is paid off, like there's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll get snatched away from them. And, with you being an advocate, obviously you could provide as many solutions as possible, but if they're still in denial, the best thing we can do is be there for them, even if they don't feel like they need it right now. We just have to be that bug in their ear. And with that said, I know a lot of people that are going to be taking a look at this, they're going to want us to hop into the juicy details of your deal. I know in the beginning, you reached out personally, which, that's what we try and help folks out with, especially if they need help getting their first deal done. But this was an interesting one. We talked to the guy a couple of times, and I'm not going to spill the beans. I want you to kind of do that, but let's go over that initial call. And then after we discuss that, let's go over, I brought you onto a private coaching call so that we can do a call together to him to pitch the offer. We'll do that one after this one, but let's kind of walk people through this gentleman and kind of paint the picture of, his background and where he was at.
So this gentleman, he called through and I called him back, and we had a very lengthy conversation because he is a talker, as you know. Yeah. But he had been through some really tough times. He bought the house cash and lost both of his parents through that, got some money, bought the house cash. He was 60 years old when I was chatting to him. And he'd had an accident in his home probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And, he was healthy, he was working, everything was going really well. Had this accident, which was in his kitchen, just kind of slipped over and bumped his head. Next thing he knew, he woke up in a hospital a couple of months down the track. And he'd been in a coma. He'd gotten some physical injuries and also like a brain injury. And from that, it kind of just started to steamroll because, of course, then he had a huge medical bill. He had fallen behind with everything. He wasn't earning an income. All of these things just started to pile on. And he reached out to Social Security. He didn't have a 401k. He reached out to Social Security. They wouldn't do anything. Recently, probably about 6 months ago, he engaged some lawyers because he'd eaten through all of his savings. And he had some people living with him who ripped him off, and he just had like a cumulative, like really bad, like everything was just getting worse and worse. His neighbors had rallied together and paid his utilities for him for a while, so he owed them a couple of $1,000s. And he was literally to the point where he said to me that he was living off of the generosity of his neighbors, because one of the nurses at the hospital advocated on his behalf to Social Security and just kept pushing and pushing. And the best that they could give him were like food stamps. Is that what you guys call it? Yep. So it was just an amount for that, a very minimal amount that came in once a month. So he had just enough to get the absolute basic things, but all of his bills and everything he couldn't pay. So they were just all piling up in the background.
No, I remember when we were talking to him, I felt awful because he said that he'd have to go to the food bank. He had some of his neighbors helping him out with groceries, but I remember like he was talking to us about he may not have known where he was going to have dinner from. So it was a bad position for him to be from. He couldn't hold a job because he couldn't stand for a certain period of time, or else he would get dizzy. He was just in a really bad spot. And with the Social Security, they were, kind of yanking his chain on that. I don't even know if he's gotten it to this point, but now at least with how we were able to help him, he's set up for, a few years. And with how he got set up, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, was great. Now we talked, you and I did a game plan, and then we decided to do the call. And you were obviously, I was extremely thankful that you allowed us to do the call so that our private coaching students could listen in on how that call took place. So why don't you kind of walk people through, like, we call him, we're getting ready to do the pitch, and let them know how we're able to help. Kind of walk us through on that next part in the process.
Okay, so with we'll call him Kevin. Okay, just for convenience sake. I was actually keeping in touch with him every week. Calling him. And I'd say, okay, I'll call you again next Tuesday to see how you're going. And I religiously would call and, how you going? And most of the time he just wanted to vent. He'd go over, similar stories, and he would kind of catch me up on how things are going. And I'd say, oh, have you heard from the lawyers? And have you heard from, anyone, do you have family? And I was trying to, get him to reach out to people, just so he would know that I wasn't just going to come in for the, hey, I'm going to buy your house for cash, that.
Oh, you mean like a regular old investor that doesn't.
That.
That wonders why it feels hard. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. So then his whole issue, because he'd had people obviously reaching out to him like crazy, all of those people.
We're going to call it that from now on. Those people.
Those people.
Yeah, those investors.
Yeah. And they, had offered him money and all the rest of it, but he wanted to stay in his house. That was the hardest part. So I said to him, if I could help you stay in your house, would you be open to some suggestions? And he said, absolutely. And I said, well, okay, well, let me go away and have a think about it and see what options I can come up with. And then I'll jump on a call with you with a colleague of mine, and we can run through some options with you. Is that okay? And he said, yeah, that's fine. So And every phone call he'd say, thank you for your help. Thank you for listening. God bless you. He'd end the call that way. And then we teed up a call with Jason and yeah. Do you want me to go through that call or?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So we jumped on and we went through, and Jason heard his story all over again. And I think I can tell the story verbatim now because I've heard it so many times. He said that he, had been offered money for his house before and blah, blah, blah. But, every single person wanted him to move out of the house. And so then, he was open to listening to choices. And so then Jason jumped in. I think it was kind of like a bad cop, good cop type thing. I was the good cop because I have a halo.
You were the good cop.
I was the good cop, yeah. And Jason sort of, said, this is what we can offer you, all that sort of stuff. And that call didn't end well because he was pretty frustrated, pretty upset. His ego had been bruised. And Jason became one of those people. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So here, and we always say this, bad things happen to good people. You were there to help, listen, and say, hey, let's try and figure something out. And then you bring in your colleague, Jason here, and then he gives a little bit dose of reality based upon where the situation was. And then, like you said,
and I was being nice to him too.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, they take it differently on their end because they're in the situation, right? And it's your, and it's your job as an advocate to help swim through that. Even when the situation seems a little rocky, it's because you're getting down to brass tacks. It's because you're getting down to the reality side of things, and you're still trying to help. It's just sometimes they don't, based upon the situation, don't want to hear at the moment what you're saying. And so what happened moving forward from that?
Well, we got how that phone call ended too is, he definitely gave me a few F-bombs. Julie got to dodge those. And he said that he never wanted to talk to us again, but Julie, with persistency, and I recommended him, like, hey, just give him some breathing time. Had this happen before. I've had my fair share of people cussing me out over the phone. So we gave him a little bit of time, and I think you followed up with the next day or maybe 2 days after, and then you did a really good job with explaining the numbers. And then I don't want to take your power there, but you did a good job. So why don't you kind of explain, you followed up and then what happened?
Yeah. So at the end of that call, yes, he was very irate, and I said, like I was trying to reiterate to him that, hey, we're on your side. We didn't put you in this position, not that bluntly, but we're trying to help you,
right?
On the flip side. And I will call you back in a couple of days. It's up to you whether you call back or not. But we've been in contact for such a long time. I care about you, and I don't want to just drop it like this. So I sort of let him know that I will be calling. It's up to him whether he, just give him time to simmer, but just letting him know. So then I called back and he didn't answer. I called back again and he picked up, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, he's picking up. That's a good sign. And so we talked it through again. We went through the whole scenario again. But I kind of worded it differently. Instead of just giving him that bottom number, I actually explained that, I added in all of the things that we'd be paying off. I added in all of the fees and I said, your offer, let's assume that what we were offering him was, after everything, 180 grand. In his brain, his last offer was like 240, and he was offended by that. So when I came back and I reversed all the numbers, and I said to him, our offer to you is actually 220. The way we worded it to you in that last phone call was probably a little confusing because we took everything out. So our offer is actually 220, but what we're going to pay out of that is blah, blah, all your taxes, all the fees, all the da, 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 all of that sort of stuff. And he started to soften then. And I said, look, what I'll do is I'll put that, because I know that, with your memory issues and your dizziness, it's a lot of information to take in over the phone. So I said, look, I'll put that all together. He didn't have email, unfortunately. So I had to text this to him, but I put it all together in a little text. And I said, at least you've got something to work from. And I sent it back. And then I kind of pulled back from that, and I just kind of kept in contact with him. How are you going? Have you got any bills that are unpaid? And I just kind of, stayed in contact with him, basically went back a step just to let him simmer. And he received that a lot better. He ended the call kind of happy again. And yeah.
And
So
you ended up getting it under contract shortly thereafter, right?
I did. So we had another couple of phone calls, and he decided that he was going to move forward, that he was happy with moving forward. And I said to him, I will do my very best to find a buyer that will keep you in the house so you can rent it back. So I said to him, that's what it was. I said, look, before you sign any contracts, let me reach out and see if I can get some interest in people buying the house with a tenant already in there, so we don't waste each other's time. That's what it was. And so I did. I reached out to a couple of investment groups in that area, and a few people jumped on and said, yeah, absolutely, sounds great. So I went back to him and I said, look, I've got a handful of people that are interested, that could potentially be interested. And he was like, great, send the contracts out. So I sent them out. And this was for the purchase. So he rang me and he said, you haven't put the rental stuff in here. And I said, well, I can't put the rental stuff in there because that's kind of like the end buyer that will be sorting that out. And he said, that's fine. I trust you. I'll just sign it. And I said, look, I'll throw something together so that you know that you're covered. And that is my intention, to keep you as, feeling as confident as possible.
Julie,
so
let me interject here.
Yeah.
Just because it's important. Because people may just listen and brush over that part you just said. He trusts you. You know why,
He did.
right? You came to him, not saying I'm going to buy your house. You came to him as a tax advocate. You came to him, gave him options. You had several phone calls with him, and you reassured him, which people in this situation, that's exactly what they need. And that's the exact reason why you got the deal, because I'm going to circle back the conversation to what you said earlier, that he said, not you, what he said to you. Yeah, everybody's just coming to buy the house and telling me I can't stay in it and making me this offer and that offer. And they're just literally not understanding how to handle this type of lead. But you, as a tax delinquent blueprint advocate, understood that, which is why you got the deal. I don't want to brush over that. He had talked to a ton of other people who were doing it the wrong way, who didn't have what he believed to be his best interest at heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the whole reason he chose not to do business with them and chose you instead.
Yep.
Yeah. So he signed that and he sent it back. And then it kind of turned sour, because he'd gone to his bank and talked to someone, like, I think she was like a lender in the bank. And my next communication with him was like, I tried calling him, he didn't answer. I texted him and I said, hey, I think I've got, how's it all going? I think I've got some nibbles. And he sent back, oh, I think I've sold the house. And I'm like, to me, right? Because you signed the contract. And he said, no, to the banker lady that's been helping me out. And I'm like, hang on, wait, back up. Like, what's going on? So he wouldn't answer my call. So we had to do this all via text at this point. And basically the banker had gotten in his ear and said that I was ripping him off, that that I had no intention of him renting the house back, that I was just one of those people that we're just wanting to buy the house cash. And, I was not being honest. So she was going to buy the house and he was going to rent it off of her. And I'm like, but Kevin, you signed a contract with me. Like I've been working with you and I've found people that are interested. We're just kind of refining the whole rental side and all this sort of stuff. And he was like, I've reported you to the police. I'd never want to speak to you again. Yeah, it was pretty bad. And I felt awful. Actually, I felt awful more. What upset me the most was that he thought I was that person. Not that I'd lost the deal. It was more that this person that I have been speaking to for the last few months has now seen me in a different light. And that I was like, what is going on? So,
yeah. And that's what happens on the marketplace. You have competition. That banker saw an opportunity. That banker doesn't know who you are, right? And they were just making blanket statements and snap judgments on things that they don't have. They don't know your conversations. And the reason I'm stopping to say that is that investors out there, this may happen to you. But it's the way you approach it, your persistence, and that will save that relationship and get the deal to the finish line. And it helps by leaps and bounds when you have a full-blown tax care company set up that you can hang your hat on versus just being an investor with an investor hat on. Right. So how did you get it back into get back into his good graces to get that deal to the finish line?
Well, my calls were being diverted. Like he blocked my phone number straight to voicemail, which he hadn't set up. So I couldn't leave a message. I was texting him, he wouldn't respond. And I thought, I did have a buyer at that point, and she was being very patient and very supportive. So I wrote a letter to him and I added in a rental, something to cover off the rental side of it. And I sent that out to him and I thought, well, that's my last stitched effort to see if I can save this. And I had the escrow company. The escrow company were brilliant. It really helps having a good escrow company on your side. So they were everyone was kind of waiting to see whether he'd come back. I put in the escrow phone number and like my phone number and like everything that I could think of. Next thing I know, I had a voicemail from a number that I didn't recognize, so I didn't pick up my phone. When I listened to it, it was the banker lady. So I called her back and we had a quick chat and she was very accusing on the phone. And by the end of the phone call, she had softened. And I said to her, I wish you'd called me earlier because I could have put all of this to bed. I genuinely want to help Kevin. I have lined up a buyer that is going to rent the property back. I couldn't put the rental agreement in there because nobody was there to sign it yet. The first part of the deal was between him and I. The second part was between me and the end buyer type of thing. So she understood that. She said, okay, well, I'll call past his house. And because at that point, unbeknownst to me, he completely ran out of money, couldn't even pay for his phone. So, he could receive messages, but he couldn't send messages.
Yeah.
Bless you. And so I just had to wait again. And then I called the escrow team to say, I think he's back on board. He should be calling one of us soon again. And she said, well, that lady has caused so much drama. Like she's reported you to these government departments. I don't even remember who it was now, that my manager isn't even sure whether we should go ahead with this deal. And I'm like, oh my God. So I said, look, you do your due diligence. You ask me whatever questions you want. I'm here to answer whatever. So she, I went through my LLC. I've got an LLC. So they checked all that out. Tick. That was all good. They checked the end buyer out. Tick. It was all good. So they came back and said it was, it was good to go. Kevin, like he rang the escrow company. They actually sent someone to his house because of his brain issue. I said to them, I just want to make sure that he completely understands what's going on, and that, I understand. I think he understands me when we talk on the phone, but I just want somebody face to face. I said, I'm happy to fly down and meet him. And they said, no, leave that with us. So they sent somebody from the escrow company. So they went above and beyond, sat with him, went through the whole thing. And they're like, yeah, he's good. He understands. And she's just made a mess of it. So funnily enough, I texted her back and I said, if you'd have come to me first, you would have saved Kevin a lot of pain, basically.
Pain and heartache, yeah.
Oh yeah, geez. It was coming down to the wire too, to where he was going to be losing the house like really soon.
Yeah. So that person did you a disservice and did him a disservice because they made a snap judgment and just painted you with a broad brush, which is completely unfair.
Yep.
And the way you approach it is like a pro. And that's why Jason said, hey, let's have you on. We want to walk everybody that hears this through the process of what a real deal when somebody's in a situation and they're not sure who they should listen to or trust. And if you approach it the right way and you don't come with just, I'm buying your house, and you've got everything to back it up, which we set you up to put you in the winner's circle. You did it. You got it to the finish line on your own by yourself. We put you in a position from the setup to get there, but you did a masterful job of just being diligent.
Yeah.
And getting a deal that, quite frankly, benefited you and your company as an advocacy company, but saved him from losing the house, even though people were doing it, whether they had good intentions or not, they were messing things up for him.
Absolutely.
And you stood strong and said, no, this is what I'm here to help, because you came with your helping hat on. That's why you win.
Yeah. Yeah. And it felt good because, I kept having to remind myself, I didn't put him in this position, so put that aside, like whatever position he's in now, I didn't cause it. But I'm here as a human trying to help him the best way I can, and obviously make money myself. That's part of it. But the main part was to make sure that, that he was comfortable with the decisions that he was making. So I guess the end result, we went back and forth with the end buyer because of his financial position. He paid rent 12 months in advance. Escrow sorted that out. So and then, oh my God, all of these other liens started coming in. He had obviously the medical bill, which he thought had been sorted out, but it hadn't been. So there was the property tax lien, the medical bill lien, and there was also a personal tax lien. So he would have eventually lost it one way or the other, regardless. You know what I mean? So, so they all got sorted. They all got paid. He's in the house. Rent is paid for 12 months. The end buyer is like, I know her, and we've sent, again, he didn't. He's not very good with his phone, so we've had to send him a letter, and then he called the buyer, and we're going to fly out to meet him, and and so that way we can meet him face to face and see how everything's going, and she can see the house and all that sort of stuff.
So I want people to understand that not every situation you're just gonna wholesale to some investor. The investor's going to come in, hold the property as a buy and hold, or rehabbing it. You can work things like we just did on this deal. Like Julie was able to do this. I remember we created a Facebook post in an Idaho group, and we didn't have cash buyers at the time. We made one post, and I think we had 15 people respond.
Yep.
And then at the end of the day, you had somebody that was like, yep, Kevin can stay in the house. He can rent it. and we had a lot of security behind that because he was going to get a ton of cash at closing. So he gets to stay in the house. He has peace of mind. They've got cash now. Hopefully that'll buy him time until he gets his Social Security coming in.
Exactly.
So
that was the kicker.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
So he got set. And then at the end of the day, what were you able to take home from this deal? You know, you had a lot of time involved. What was the end profit that Julie was able to walk away with from this one deal?
I came out with 26,000.
It's very nice. So one deal. And I know you put a lot of time and effort into this one deal. So for folks that are watching this, Julie just didn't send off the mailer, talk to the person one time. There was multiple conversations, multiple touch points.
Yeah, that's how deals close.
Well, that's how business is done.
Yeah, that's how real business is done. That's how deals close, where it's a win-win. I always tell people, 25 years living in the investor sandbox, I've yet to see a deal, what we call deals, right? A deal close where two parties don't agree.
Right.
And this is a perfect example where things started out okay.
Yeah.
Then people got cold feet for whatever reason, or didn't like the reality of the situation. You didn't take it personal, which is what a pro does, by the way. So congrats to you. And you said, no, let me help you work through this. I know the last conversation isn't like you wanted, but I'm still here to help. And you found a way to bridge the gap and get the deal to the finish line, which I know with certainty doesn't happen if you didn't lead with a, hey, we're here to help and we'll give you options approach. Because and you said that Kevin, in your example, Kevin simply said, hey, look, everybody's telling me, hey, here's what it is, and get out of the house. And that is the opposite of what the gentleman needed. So you got the profit while helping someone stay in their house for a certain amount of time, which bridged the gap to get them to their Social Security, which puts them in a better position. Otherwise, they'd end up with nothing instead of all the tax liens, judgments, and everything. Like,
exactly.
That's the way to get it done. Like,
well, and it was really important for him to pay off his neighbors. I remember on the phone, he was stressing that with the utmost importance. That wouldn't have happened if he would have lost the house.
Exactly.
Now, there might have been some excess proceeds that he could have gotten, but even then it might have been a stretch with all the liens and depending on what it sold at auction. But with that said, not every single deal is going to be like this.
Oh, well, here, but I want to.
I know. I'm just saying, like, you're not going to get accused by some banker and tell Kevin, hey, call the police and all this type of stuff. Like, this is like, there's a very rare type of.
This was
occurrence.
extreme.
Well, here, and this is the reason we wanted to do this. We haven't even released this yet, right? People are gonna watch and listen and hear this. And I'm willing to bet way ahead of time, us talking to and you walking through all the nuances of this deal and all the hurdles that the other people that hear this are like, wow, if she can get this deal to the finish line and help out this gentleman, then there's no way on God's green earth that I can't do this and help people. I'm willing to bet that this one that we release is going to be one of the most beneficial ones that investors could hear. And it's a prime,
absolutely.
It's a prime example of when it's built right and you enter the marketplace as a full-blown company. And again, I'm not trying to reuse this just to reuse it, but you're actually a helpful, you're a company that's an advocate for homeowners that are in a real situation. The situation this gentleman had that you just walked us through is not unique in this space. Now, there might not be as many moving parts. It may be a little bit more straightforward, but the urgency is there. And some of the same nuances are there. Hey, if there's a way that we could structure a deal where I could stay into the property, a lot of times that doesn't happen.
Right.
But I like the fact that you encountered pushback. And you got the deal to the finish line and you still had an opportunity to help him. That just sharpens your resolve, right? And prepares you for it. That's why I'm saying this will be, I'm willing to bet a lot of money that this when we release this will be one of the most beneficial start to finish deals that people will hear. And kudos to you for getting it to the finish line. Jason, kudos to you as well for stepping in and helping and having the conversation and kind of working through it. And this is the whole reason originally that I created this program and approach, and actually turned it from, hey, it's a different way that I can talk to homeowners, into a full-fledged company that has so many layers. As you've already gone through the training, I mean, for those who are listening, like, how comprehensive were we in the training? Pretty comprehensive, right?
Very comprehensive. Yes, it is a lot of information to take in. And I guess if I could just, I mean, I'm a hands-on learner. So until you've gone through all of the steps yourself, you've got the resources to go back on. But once you've gone through it yourself, then it's sort of, it's in your brain. So if I can just suggest, like, don't hesitate, just jump in and do it. You're not going to break anything.
Correct.
You'll learn as you go. You'll make mistakes,
I was going to say, so in the spirit of that, we've got everything step by step, right? You said it's a lot of information. It goes from, okay, I clearly see that there's some steps here, but once you press go, like you said, that's where the learning curve kicked in, right? You're like, wow, I got a lot of phone calls with a lot of different situations after having 5, 10, 15 conversations, which is funny because before you've done other things and you didn't get a single response, but now all of a sudden, as you said, you had a tidal wave. The tidal wave creates your flow. The tidal wave creates, oh, wow, these people have lots of different situations, and I'm fielding the phone calls, just hearing them out and saying, hey, I'll call you back. As you know, the drill inside the training. Hey, give me 48 hours. I have 3 separate ways I can help you. I'll lay it out for you, and we'll see what we can do to help you out. We exist because we don't think the process is fair. Right. And after you did that a few times, now all of a sudden, press and go, second time around, like you said, you have a much better understanding. You're ready to go. You're prepared to help them out no matter what comes your way. And it's a sustainable model that you can do over and over and over. So again, very kudos to you. Congrats on getting it to the finish line. And
thank you.
And I like that you were strong enough to say publicly for consumption that, hey, I press go, and this approach is good enough to where I was not prepared for all the phone calls to come in, but I swam through them and got to the other side. So
well, she did this all virtually too. So 3 states away, and then I would say the last 50%, right, or 40%, you were in Australia and you were able to get that all done. So for I know you're choosing another market at the time. Yeah, congratulations to you.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Jeez. Hey, I'm a California, but you know what? Whatever, California. I'm going to do it in Idaho. And hey, I'm going on vacation, but I'm still going to get the deal to the finish line. I'm going to send out a letter from halfway around the world and make 26 grand and help a guy bridge the gap to get to a Social Security victory on his end.
That's huge.
I've been speaking for 25 years and helping people, and I don't even know what to say to that. That's huge.
It's massive.
That is rock solid.
And you're going into a new market, right? And you're going to be prepping yourself for that, which is exciting. I think the next few deals you get, I think are going to be a lot less.
Yeah.
Stressful.
What are you going to do when you get an easy one?
Yeah.
Hey, good. Let's drop the contract. You'll be like, do you have a banker that can maybe you don't have anybody?
Yeah.
Do you have an uncle that just hates people that I can talk to? I need to feel like I'm working harder for this deal.
This is too easy. Too easy.
Yeah, exactly.
That might happen.
You'll look over your shoulder like,
sure. Well, yeah.
Am I being pranked?
Camera?
Yeah, am I being pranked here?
Right. Yeah, I don't think that will come about. I don't think you'll do another one like that, maybe ever, but
I hope not.
I love it. You listen to this. If you don't clearly see our willingness to help you, those of you out there that get this, and at least reach out to us. I always say you're the owner of your own business wherever you are out there in the universe as you listen and watch this. if you don't think that you owe it to your business, you owe it to yourself to help your business maybe put something in place that runs like this and has a bunch of incoming phone calls of people need help, then pick a CEO corner to stand in. I mean, folks, like there's a right way to do this and a wrong way to do this. Like you choose. But we relish the opportunity to help people just like you.
Yeah. Can't wait to help you on your next one. And, we've got our next training program coming out, which is going to be on how to do like short-term rentals. And Julie has shown that she really wants that. So that's access that we're giving to her absolutely at no charge for her, pushing forward and getting this deal done. And I'm super thankful that she was able to come on here and do this. Any parting words for folks that are listening to this right now that you would love to share some words of wisdom?
Yes. Really, I guess just make notes as you're going along. So you've got something to go back to. Reach out to the resources, your guys. Because Jason, you were, oh my God, it was so good to just have someone to bounce off, just to talk it through to. So, if you've got, someone else that's doing the training, like buddy up, so you've got someone to bounce off. And just be prepared. Like you will get a ton of phone calls coming through. So just do your research on that particular area. I mean, I have another layer because I'm a mortgage broker. So that was another offer that I could offer people. Like if they were working and they were, they're bringing in income, maybe we could, get them a HELOC or something to pay off their debts. But just look at whatever resources you can to throw into that mix, because I know initially you won't have money to offer them. So, you need to be creative and pull all your resources so you're having valuable conversations with these people. And just remember that it's not a deal. You're helping people.
Yeah,
so
love that.
Remember that. And then, the rest will just happen.
And it's fun when you approach it the right way. The phone calls you took, they were ready to talk to you.
Yeah.
Vastly different than what most investors are used to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And for folks that are on right now listening to this, this is a really amazing deal that Julie had some amazing perseverance to just keep plugging away. If you would like to further your training as well, you could go to www.jointhetaxwebinar.com. It's a webinar that Jason and I put together that explains things a little bit more in detail on how Julie was able to find that deal and get it done. Again, it's www.jointhetaxwebinar.com. It's free for you to join us, and we'll go over everything that Julie was able to do in there in much more detail. But other than that, Jason, any parting words from you?
No, that besides the fact that you can just simply you can set up a company that is known for, in whatever marketplace you want to enter, as literally the foundation of it is known for helping people and giving them options.
It's awesome.
Not just giving them options on, I'll buy your house for this amount, or this amount. Actually, a company that's known for giving options and leaving every conversation with the people that actually reach out to you, calling incoming calls to you, that you actually leave every conversation knowing that you help them by laying the path of things that they can and can't do, and options that they have, so that at least they know that they have options before they run out of time. So that's what I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Julie, just super proud of you. And you did an amazing job with this one. I don't see you having any more issues moving forward or roadblocks.
If you have a tougher one than that, then you're going to be back on. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. No, I think you're so well prepared.
Accepted.
So well prepared. I think all of the rest of them are going to be smooth sailing from here. But we're here to help you. As always, you're part of the family. And look forward to more of your deals, hearing about more of your deals. But other than that, that's it for this No Flipping Excuses episode. We will see you guys on the next one. Take care. Have a great day.
Bye. See you later. Hey, Jason Pals here with the No Flipping Excuses channel. Hey, thanks for watching our videos, but we want you to take it to the next level. So what I want you to do is go to jointhetaxwebinar.com, where you can watch a free webinar on our favorite lead source, which is Tax Delinquent Leads, where you can get exclusive inbound leads where they're calling you and not on the MLS, and have homeowners begging to talk to you. So it's our gift to you. Join that. Go to jointhetaxwebinar.com, and we look to see you on the inside.